How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of CityZilla Plays here in our beautiful city of Crater Lake. And if you're new to the series, this is season 2, where we are building out this lovely city that has been dubbed Crater Lake. And in this episode, we are going to be talking about my top tips for road management. And the reason we're doing this is because we need to lay out a road network for over here, as well as start to develop our downtown area. I don't think we're going to be laying down any zoning just yet, but I wanted to go over some of the tips that I utilize within my city to manage traffic and to help to regulate some of the routes that your citizens can take. And this is a really big part of this game, is road management and transportation, and it can be one of the huge bottlenecks, especially for new players. I know that when I first started, my road layouts were just terrible, and I didn't really understand how the relationship with roads and your citizens, and then commercial and industrial and residential, how they all kind of meld together. And so one of the first things I wanted to talk about is to create access. And so within this city, this is our main freeway off ramp, the first one that we had. And you see a lot of those videos that talk about like best first entrance. And I really don't think it's about that. It is nice to have a nice entrance, but I left this like this because we're actually going to end up deleting it. And my first goal when creating a new city is to create access. And so I plopped these other two freeway entrance exits pretty quickly within the first 5,000 population. The reason for that is because it splits up your traffic. Like this is primarily our industrial, and so our trucks will take this route. This is our main entrance, and so there's still quite a bit of traffic that takes this route. But then this one is residential, and this one is designed to be a freeway on-ramp, off-ramp as well. And the reason for it is so that if somebody is over here and they need to get over here, they're not going to drive down here and go to your one entrance, which is then going to be super congested, and then or taking your service streets all the way over here, or even jumping off here going over there. Like, what you're doing is you're providing different routes for people within different areas of your city, and this is super important. It is extremely important. And the reason why I mention that is because we are getting away from the freeway, and so whenever you start to develop areas that are of considerable distance from your freeway, you really need to start thinking about arterials or creating arterials that function similar to a freeway. Roads that are designed to take people long distances with minimal zoning on them, or intersections. The primary goal is to basically provide the same function as a freeway, but on an area where the freeway is not. And so we are going to end up branching this freeway across, and that's one of the things that I had identified right when we started building the city. And the reason for that is because we're going to build a downtown here. But I think we're going to create another little downtown tourist district right here. And so what we could do is create an interchange right here, kind of near our downtown, which actually might be functional, and then wrap this down. But I think what we're going to do today is make a couple avenues, because I really like the look of them, and I think it provides a really good opportunity for us to kind of follow along with what I had said in the first episode. I want to use some inspiration from like Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia, and create just points of interest. And so what we're going to do is go into here and choose, I think we actually had a bike road. Yeah, we did. So I'm just going to choose a little picker mod, and we are going to branch this off. And I want to come probably about like right here. And the reason for that is because this road is going to go sideways. And so what we want is a road that is going to run horizontal to the freeway, that is going to provide long distance travel. And so let's go ahead and figure out our road layout for this avenue. And so what I want is for them to be about 6 squares apart. I think this is going to be a little too big. 1, 2, 3. Nope, that's actually perfect. And the reason for that is because it provides a nice little middle section where we can do like another road or a path or something. And so we're just going to go like this, like that, and then I'm going to use the anarchy mod and just draw this across because it's just a little bit easier, even though it is cheating a little bit. And so we're going to go like that. I'm just going to continue this on, even though it's not super necessary at this point. But then I'm going to back these up, because what I want to do is put a roundabout in here, and I want to put a pretty sizable one, because this is going to be pretty major intersection. It's going to intersect this other collector / arterial road, and it is going to connect up our avenue. And so right now, this avenue is going to connect up with this road, so it'd be really smart for us to put minimal zoning, or maybe even just a couple commercial, but nothing crazy, in terms of intersections or anything like that on this road, because then this one goes straight across and it actually comes down here, and it actually probably would have been smarter for us to use that road. Maybe we will shift that over. No, you know what? We'll keep that like that, and even though it does kind of run down to where there is no freeway access, this road right here will still have pretty good accessibility for it. I think what we're going to end up doing is creating another little underground tunnel section right here, and so maybe we'll even connect that road up to this roundabout, but we'll see as we go on. For right now, I think that's good. And so I do want to kind of run this across, and just for future planning. I don't think it's super necessary at this point. I don't know why this is doing this. I think it's one of my mods that is just not reading well with the terrain or something. This has been happening quite a bit. And there we go, there we go, there we go. And there we go. Oh, you know what? It was probably this slope right there, but we fixed it, and so not a huge concern. I do want to come in here, though, and choose a nice 3-lane road. I actually think we were using the bike roads for this one. I think that would be smart to continue on with that, because we do want to keep that bike accessibility. It's super important for your cities. And so let's go in here, upgrade this guy. And I do want to flip this around. I believe that is the right direction. And I guess we'll just have to wait and see for us to connect it up. And there we go. Nothing too crazy. And then what I'm going to do is just kind of curve these in. Because that other road is right there, I really don't want these to be too wide, and that's why I kind of kept this road a little close. I actually think this was probably better. Yeah, I think we're going to delete this side and just move it back a little bit. I would rather have it be of similar shape. Because that one kind of kept that curve right there, it worked out a little bit better. So I think we are going to go like this. And because the node is right there, it's going to give me some problems. So I think, you know what, I think that looks good. It's not perfect, but it is going to work for our needs. And then we're just going to copy it on this side. And there we go. I was kind of hoping for a little bit better, get some better curves on those, but I don't think it's too big of a concern just yet. We may need to come back through and change that at some point, but for right now, I think that is good. Normally, you would want a little more space between these, but the main objective is this was to create this kind of highway road over here. And so we satisfied that demand, and we're just going to go and continue this on for right now, though I don't know if we will keep that like that. I think for right now, though, it kind of helps to illustrate my point a little bit. And so for this guy, we are going to go like that, and the reason is because we want to know where this road is going to end up, and this is one of the biggest things that you can utilize within your cities to help to kind of plan out arterials and stuff, is to just lay out the network and then connect it up with roads wherever you can. And so I think what we're going to do now is come in here, and you know, we'll use the picker mod again, because I think this road is another bike lane road, and it would be better if we could stick with that. And there we go. And then let's go back to unmodded mode. And I do want it to be, the road is pretty tall, but it's not a huge concern at this point. We are going to create a tunnel right here, though. And the reason for this is because I want to create a separation of these road networks. And what this does is it splits up the traffic so that if people want to come down here, they can go down to this road. If people are trying to travel through, then they can go on this one. And then we are going to connect it up with that tunnel again like we did on the last one. And the reason for this is because it just makes it so that your traffic gets split up a little more. Is it super realistic? I'm not really sure. I think in real life they would probably figure out a way to connect these up. But I think it works for our purposes. So, and there we go. I do want this to go down. Yeah, I knew that was going to be a little too steep. Yeah, you know what? We'll just have to... We'll connect up on the next one, and we'll leave that one unconnected for right now. It does kind of suck, but because of this waterway, it does need to go pretty deep down. And this is actually how tunnels work as well. They come down pretty steep like that until you eventually reach a bottom, and then you just start climbing up again. But I think that satisfies our current goal right now, and then what we could do is connect up this road and create another roundabout. I think that actually might be good for us to do. And so I think we're going to go ahead and do that. And again, the reason why we're doing this is because we want to plan ahead. And so we know that we want to create high density neighborhoods. We know that we want no traffic, as close to no traffic as possible. We want it to be perfect. That would be the ideal city. Yeah, that bridge actually worked out pretty good. And there we go. And then what we're going to do here is we are going to use our rural road. And the reason why is because I really want it to be in the middle. And there we go. And then let's come into our nice little handy dandy. We're going to use the same size because why not? And then come in here, delete this guy, delete this guy, delete that guy. There you go. Just delete, 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 delete everybody. And then this is going to be a little bit of an issue. So I think what we'll do is we will have this one funnel into a single connection. And the reason for that is so that we can still get those nice curves on the other side. And we won't have to worry about the connections being too close. And there we go. That actually worked out really well. I like how this connection looks here. We're getting a little bit of tearing with the hillside right there, but I don't think it's too big of a concern. We are going to end up putting a dam there once we need a little more electricity, which is actually coming up pretty fast. Probably on the next episode we'll end up building out that dam, and so it is going to raise that water level just a little bit. And I do want these to start sloping at the same area. I feel like this may be a little too close, but we'll see. Actually, you know what? That actually worked out pretty well. And so I think we're probably going to follow that same... I mean, I feel like this side's a little further away, but I think it looks good. And so now what we did with that is we created a nice little road layout for people to travel a little bit further. And so what we're going to do is we're going to regulate our connections to these roads, similar to what we did over here, where we do have these neighborhoods connecting up to it with these commercial centers, but the overall collector road network is very minimally connected to this same neighborhood network. Like you can see, this is only one connection right here. And the reason for that is because it limits through traffic in these areas. And so if somebody is over here and they need to get over here, there's not really a high chance that they'll cut through this neighborhood, though in this instance they might, because these are 4-lane roads. But there's also a pretty decent chance that they'll just cut back here, go under here. So these are higher speed roads, and so even though this is backtracking a little bit, it would be the quicker way to take. And so let's go ahead, and this would end up being another straight road. And so I think we may just do that. And so I think we're 5 squares away. Yeah, so what we can do is come down here and let's see how this looks. Oh, you know what? That is a tram road. That's so funny. I guess I'd forgotten that we expanded the tram network over here because it is going to end up going into our downtown area. I don't think it's going to be necessary right there, so... And then I do want to just soften this up a little bit. Alright, and then let's go ahead and finish this guy, because we do want this to go underground again. And then let's go underground to our nice... And there we go. And so now we actually have a double connection with this main road. So all of these horizontal, all of these through collector streets are all connected with this underground road. And so by having these two road arterials basically on top of each other, we can split up the traffic even further. And so with us developing a downtown district over here and over here, we should be able to keep our traffic really low. And so we're at 82 right now. I play without despawning though, and so it normally does stay around the 80 mark. Even in the most perfect of cities, it still stays pretty high, even though traffic is not bad at all. I really like how this turned out. The episode hasn't released yet, and so this is kind of talking in the future, I guess, but I think this looks amazing. I spent a lot of time on this too. This is definitely one of the best transit terminals I've ever done. And so another thing that we could do is connect up some of the underground roads, maybe come up here like through this road. And we might end up doing that, but I think because the freeway is still going to be underground, we'll probably keep that for later because I do want to have some underground connections to that freeway. But then we're going to end up designing out some above ground ones too that kind of have where it's partially above ground. I have some pretty cool ideas. I'm still waiting for the city to be a little bit bigger for that though, because that would be like a multi-million, multi-billion-dollar project, and a city that only has 10,000 population would just not have funding for that at the moment. But maybe as we expand the downtown, we start getting some tourism, it'd be fair to assume that maybe the state would invest in the city a little more or something like that. And so I think this road layout is pretty good for what we're trying to do at the moment. We are going to save this space for a giant park, because we're going to end up putting the dam right here, and I thought it would just be really cool to kind of incorporate the dam with the park, and then to have the park kind of go across the street as well, and we'll probably end up doing some unique buildings or something right there. But I do want to lay out some local road connections as well. So basically what this is a collection of a collection of collector roads, and then as the city expands, we'll kind of see if these, like right now this would be dubbed an arterial, but we'll see if we need to maybe, like I could see this one becoming more of an arterial, even though there's only small commercial connections on it, but we could end up having to turn these into roundabouts at some point, just based off the amount of traffic that ends up using that. And so let's go ahead and put in this road connection real quick. I keep talking about it, but I just keep forgetting about it, and so... And there we go. And so now we have even better accessibility on this side. I think we will end up making this side just a little bit longer. You want to try to provide enough room for cars to get off and not have to brake so suddenly. Key with freeway off-ramps is to create enough space. Okay, and there we go. And so now what we can do is start designing out a local road layout. And so we have some arterials, we have some collector roads, we have a pretty decent starting grid over here, even considering the fact that we don't have access to these squares just yet. So we're just utilizing the space that is available to us. And so what I want to do is design out a couple residential areas. We have already designated this as a park/open space green space area, and then we do know that a downtown district is going to start developing here, and we do know that a downtown/tourism district is going to start developing here. And so I want to try and follow some patterns with this. This right here already being residential really kind of lends to this area being residential, and it actually affords us an opportunity to either extend this road and probably make a connection right there, since this is kind of not a great location for a connection, with it being so close to both sides, actually being so close to these intersections. And so what we can do is come in here, and I'm actually not, this wasn't initially part of the plan, but after looking at it, I think it would be a pretty decent idea for this area, because another thing we could also do is just leave that there and just start branching off from here. You know what, maybe we'll do that, because we're already going to be limited on space over here, and so I think it would be good for us to maybe leave that space empty right there, because then what we can do is make this into another little frontage area for these people, because it would kind of be one of the reasons to move here is your proximity to the water. And so being able to, like, we would be able to put in some paths or something in there and just make it look really nice. Even though this park is right here, it would still be nice to kind of add those features in around the neighborhoods. It's just one of the ways that you can kind of beef up your land value a little bit, and it just provides another amenity for these people. And so I do want to still follow those same small square patterns, and the reason for that is because it's a great location for schools, and you can kind of see this one I left empty, and it just kind of leaves an area like this one's empty for us to be able to expand really easily in the future. And you definitely see this in cities where you'll see like plots of land that have kind of just been left undeveloped, and just because it's, you know, whether it's zoning or somebody's holding onto the land, it's being held for future use. And so I think right there is good. And then I'm looking at this little kind of square thing right here, and I think this one, even though that's not going to be a great location for us to put anything, I think it does kind of mirror this side, because then what we can do too is come in here and delete that, and I think that will provide a nice little area for some parks or something. And we could even mirror it over here, since this is on an exterior. We really don't need that road kind of going around, and it does lend a little more to preventing through access. So I think that's actually really smart. And we're going to come back in here and upgrade these to 4-lane roads real quick, just because those other ones are 4-lane roads and I want to kind of follow that pattern. So if somebody is within the neighborhood, they can take this little exterior road. And so now what we want to do is follow a similar pattern to what we had on the other side. So we know we're probably going to do some light commercial on this road, and we know that we don't want it to be too close to the roundabout. And we know it also is kind of good for sound barrier reasons to have it a little bit further away. So I'm thinking maybe right there. I think that looks pretty good. And what we could even do as well is a bridge over this. I feel like a bridge would probably be high cost though, and so I don't know how likely that would be for the developers to choose to do. But we do know that we can't make a connection right here, and so this is actually kind of an issue for us. What we could do, since these are just through streets, we could make this a connection right here. I still don't know how I feel about that, but it does push the intersection a little further back so that people within this neighborhood still have some pretty decent accessibility. They can get down here, they can get to these roads from either side, and then it probably would be ideal for us to make a connection off of this road as well. And so we'll probably, let's go ahead and switch to a bigger road just because they look nicer and they tend to lend themselves to an entrance almost. And so we'll go like that, and we'll go do the same thing on this side. Is that that looks like a bridge piece? I don't, you know, it's so funny. This whole area is just, because it's so bumpy, in the regular unmodded type style, it tends to make bridge pieces, which is okay, but we just don't need it right there. And so now we have some pretty decent accessibility here. We don't have too much accessibility. We don't have too many intersections, but if somebody is within the neighborhood, they can get out pretty quickly. And so there's an avenue this way if they need to get over to the transit hub, or maybe they're going to work. And then there's this avenue as well, which does take them over to our potential downtown district over here, which is where more jobs and stuff are going to be. But then they also have access to this road, which brings them down here, which is actually probably the quickest way to get to the downtown area. But then we probably will do that underground road, but I think it's probably going to be the highway because it's going to end up swooping through here, and so we'll probably just assume that it's going to turn up this way, and we'll end up making a freeway connection right there. We'll have to design out something that's going to be practical though, because especially with local roads, once you start designing these out, you really want to watch your implementation with the bigger roads, because you just don't want to inhibit traffic on these bigger roads. And if you're playing without mods, then it's even a little harder because you can't really mess with the junction restrictions as much, like asymmetric roads. You can use the in-game tools like the turning off traffic lights or using stoplights and stuff, but it's just not as convenient as this. And so, as I'm sure you guys all know, and is this correct? Yep, Yeah, it is. It looks like that is a bridge piece as well, though, so I'm just going to switch that back real quick, just because we don't really need it to be a bridge piece right there. I think it going into a bridge piece right there is good. But then I think what I'm going to do, too, is level these out. I didn't realize that was going to be much higher. Maybe we will... you know what? I think it would be better if it was level, so maybe if we went like that and then leveled these ones out, too. Even though this is going to be a little bad. You know what? It's not bad. I am going to go in here and use the Soften Terrain tool. And the reason I'm doing this is obviously because of all these bumps right here. But I just want it to be a little less pronounced. Once the buildings start building out, it's not going to be a huge concern. But it is nice to have a little bit of grading. Especially in developments like this. The first step that they would do is actually grade this all out. They'd probably keep some of the hills, but makes for better plots of land to have them flat. And so let's go ahead and design out the rest of this road layout. This is going to be low density, and so we really don't need to do anything crazy, but we are going to follow a similar pattern to what we had on the other side. So I do want to do 2 vertical roads, and we'll probably go like that so that we can maintain our zoning. And then what we'll do is probably continue this road across and possibly just follow that pattern down. And the reason for this is just because it, you know what we could do actually is create a nice open space in the middle to where we could make some parks or something. We could actually skip one too so that we could do some path access. I think that would be good. And you know what? I think that looks pretty good. We didn't utilize all of our space, but we did leave enough room to where there could be some paths in there, and this could maybe be marketed as a little higher value neighborhood. Like you're not right on top of each other, which is always nice. And so I think this would be a good start. I think we are going to just go like this, just so that we can get a little bit of path access in here. And then I'm just going to finish up these 3-lane junctions with paths so that people can continue on walking, but they can't continue on driving. And that's one of the tips that you can use, and you guys probably see me do it a lot in my cities, where I do 3-lane connections with path access. And the reason for that is because it just promotes people to walk more. And you see that a lot in... I believe it's the Radburn style of grids, is where you do a bunch of cul-de-sacs connected by pedestrian path access, and it helps to promote people to walk a little more. Now the trick with it is if you don't do path access and it's just cul-de-sacs, it actually promotes people to drive more, which is actually really unhealthy. Because the cul-de-sacs kind of bunch them in, and so that what you have to do is make sure that you have the path access in there. And so I think this is pretty good. We could just continue that onto... It does kind of create a little bit of a weird junction here, but at least we have some symmetry. And there you go. And you know what? We will continue this on just so that we can connect to the main road. And there we go. And we'll do the same thing on this side, just because why not? You know, we want to have that access. And I think this looks pretty good. I like the general layout of that. We are in need of some pedestrian path access for these roads. I do think that we're going to do that center pedestrian road like we did on the other avenues. Just because I really like how it looked, and I think it provides some really great accessibility. And so now that we got that, that's going to be a low-density neighborhood. Let's go ahead and identify another area that we could do a low-density neighborhood in. So we know that the park's going to be right here. And I do kind of want to do something with this waterfront. I was thinking the Ferris wheel would be really cool. We do have the hypermarket already right there. Yeah, there you go. And so we have a pretty decent little commercial center. Nothing too crazy. But I think it would be nice if we created something along this shoreline as well, especially with it being right next to the park. I did kind of play around with placing some unique buildings within the park, but I think the space is kind of limiting, so what we're going to end up doing is more of a custom park. Something that I did in Zilla Wood. I don't know if you guys saw the detailing episode, but I ended up doing it instead of, using park assets and stuff like that, just kind of designing it yourself, like using fences and trees and basically building the same thing that you would get, like plazas and stuff like that, but just doing it yourself. I think they'd come out really well, and I actually came up with a pretty cool design, and so we'll probably do that on the next episode. But I actually know on the next episode we'll probably finish zoning this out. But we do want to follow that same kind of pattern with this main road. And so what I'm going to do is kind of cheat here a little bit and just go across. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I just want to make sure that it's in the right spot. I think I'm actually going to draw it in. And the reason I did that is just because we want it to be correct. We are not going to keep that road, as it does artificially dam the river anyways, and so that would not be a great location for that. But now what it does is it just makes it so that these are somewhat symmetrical, and then we are still connected to the main road. So what I'm going to do is come out 1, 2, 3. You know what? I think it's more than 4 since we are, yeah, so that one is limited, but this one I do want to fall back to our somewhat standard pattern that we had before now that we have the opportunity. And so what we're going to do is go from here, and we will go 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'll follow this guy out. And the reason we're doing this is just because it creates some nice symmetry within your city, but then it also makes the roads predictable. And so what this does now is it provides us an opportunity to put another collector road right here, because we do want to break up this neighborhood a little bit. One of the biggest problems you'll have with traffic is just having too much zoning in one area with not enough infrastructure. And so I think this right here will probably be good. And then we will go ahead and cut that across as well. And we could even cut this through our park area. You know what? That might actually be smart. So let's see how it looks, because we might just do a curved road right here. I think maybe if we... you know what? Maybe if we go like right there and then cut it down. I don't know how that's going to... So let's see about putting this off right there. And then let's see about, and you know what? We could actually use the network multi-tool. I don't normally mess with the create connection mode because it sometimes doesn't do the greatest of connections. But in this instance, it actually will provide us an opportunity to be able to kind of look at the different functions for this. And so this is actually really nice. I don't think you can do a bend on a bridge, but that would be pretty nice. Maybe if we move this up there and then we move that right there. That actually looks pretty good. It does look like we are going to have to change this because it looks like it's going to turn into a tunnel piece. But I think, you know what? I actually like that. I think it makes it really functional, and I don't like this piece. I kind of wish that had... I think we're going to delete this and just redo it ourselves. Yep. There you go. And you know what? We could just leave that in there and make that into like a roller coaster ride. So like say you're running through the park and you're coming up on it, the kids are super excited and you're just in like not a great car wondering if you can make it up there, but the kids are excited, so you gotta stick with it and you finally make it up to the top, and then you're like slamming on the brakes coming down. This thing would be pretty big, especially with a light right there. That would be really dangerous. And so I actually don't know if that's a good idea. Maybe we'll flatten that out. That's probably smarter. Though I do feel like we maybe missed an opportunity for a nice little ride right there. I think we are going to soften this guy up just a smidge, and I want to make sure that we don't mess with our coastline too much. And so you know what? I think that turned out pretty good. I don't know about these little baby hills that we got going on, but I think that's just because of the connection right there. Yeah, you know what? I don't know if there's too much we can really do about that, but I think it looks good. I like that the curve actually came in right there rather than somewhere else, and I think this is a great continuation, even though it does kind of split up our park, but knowing that we're going to put the dam right there I think it actually would be more of a natural disconnection so that we could do a nice bridge over. And so if you wanted to like walk your dog or just go to the regular park, you'd come over here. But maybe if you brought the kids and you were going to see the dam and you wanted to look at this, lovely bridge, then you could hop over, and we'll probably even make a connection over here too. I think that would look pretty good. We are going to change this back into a road piece though. Not really necessary to have that into a bridge. And though I don't know why this did this again. That's so interesting. Maybe we had a weird connection in there, and that's why it was doing that. So it looks like, yeah, that's good. And then, like I'd said before, we might end up turning these into roundabouts. It really just depends on the amount of traffic, and that's kind of like what I was saying with arterials end up dictating themselves. This is a great example. Right now, these are all pretty much collector roads, with some of them designed to be more of an arterial, but we're really not going to know until traffic starts utilizing them. And then as the city expands, some of these roads will end up becoming really major roads, and so we will end up having to come through, maybe upgrade them to 6 lanes or add in roundabouts or something else, depending on the amount of traffic. And so I do want to create some connections for this guy, and I want it to be something in the middle. So we're going to go like that, and we'll come up here and do that. And I believe on the last ones we had made those connections, though I don't know how smart this would be to have that. I think over here it kind of worked, though we didn't have them connected. So I think what we'll do is switch that up and come back in here and change this. There you go. And so that way what we can do is finish this grid out and then do the same thing. Just create these little connections. And it does kind of suck that it creates these 4-lane junctions. This is definitely not ideal. But because these are low density neighborhoods, all we're really doing is providing accessibility, which actually helps to make sure that not any one of these connections is too busy. And so we're going to end up bringing that out right there, and we will probably do another. So we're going to end up doing a commercial kind of center right there. But I do want this to be another low density residential. So it looks like we're going to be kind of limited on space. Let's go ahead and draw on the other side and see what we're looking at. So that could actually work. It would be definitely a smaller neighborhood, but I think this would actually be kind of good. And so what we can do is just go like that, and then we'll even connect up the other sides, even though I don't know if it's necessary, though it does clean up our zoning over here, and so I think that could be good. And I think we will create a couple connections up here as well. And so right now we're being limited by the train, but we would end up needing some sort of connections for these roads. And so I think what we'll do is we'll go like that, and we'll go like that, and we'll kind of bridge them across. I don't like how close this is to this, but and that's why I kind of already put it off to the side, which does mess with our symmetry a little bit. But I believe the accessibility would be really important. And so now let's come in and just draw in the middle, and we're going to follow that same pattern we did on the other side. And so I think this is a pretty good little network we designed. So we have low density, low density, low density. We have low density. We have a park. We have commercial. And then we have a future freeway access point. And we could actually, let's just finish off this little guy right here with some more low density, because it is right next to our industrial area, and so this would actually be kind of an important connection for these people. But I know people are going to cut through there. That's really not what I want. If we could create a better connection, this would be more ideal. I mean, if this were connected, this would probably be the best. Yeah, you know what? I think that'll work, and then we can come in here and just upgrade this road. Because it is already a 4-lane right there. So at least now, I mean, it would be a little bit better. I still don't feel 100% convinced on that, but... And then what we'll do is just go in here and bam, bam. And so I think this is probably pretty good. We did a ton. This was a lot of road layouts. And it's kind of funny because I normally will just go from section to section, but on this one I decided that we were going to do a huge swath at once, just because I really wanted to point out some of the tips that I utilize with like creating accessibility and designing routes and making it so that your pedestrians can get to where they want to be. And we are still going to be designing out some pedestrian bridges as well, which is super important. You know, the more pedestrian access you create, the more that they will utilize it, because right now all they have is the roads. But then we'll also be creating that little middle section right here. We can actually draw it in right now, even though it's not really needed at the moment. We'll just kind of put it in there so we don't forget. And then we will have it dead end right there, and then we'll probably just have it continue on over here. I think we will end up doing something pretty cool with those little middle sections, and so we'll come up here, just continue this guy on, we'll have it connect, and I think our bridge got messed up. I gotta look through my mods and see what is potentially causing this. If any of you guys know, or if you've experienced this issue, because I've kind of played around with it a little bit, reinstalled some of my mods, and I'm just not entirely sure what is causing this issue. And there we go. And it looks like this one is kind of messed up as well. I think what we'll do though is come in here and just upgrade that. Yeah, there you go. And so now that's pretty good, and we could actually even turn that into a bridge piece. And I do want to come in here and use the fancy ones. I don't really use these a whole lot, so because they do look nice. I think that looks just so great, and it's a big path too. So this would just be really nice. And then I do want to create a little. And there we go. You know what? And I think that's pretty good. We are going to come through and upgrade those. And then now all we need to do is put down some pipes real quick. And there we go. So we laid down a pretty decent infrastructure. We have some low density residential areas. We have a commercial expansion that we can do. We have a park. And we basically laid the foundation for us to probably reach like 20, maybe even plus population. And then we still do need to work on this area. I want to do the forestry and the oil, and then kind of build out something right here. And then it's kind of funny. I literally just remembered I wanted to name this section the Boulder Terminal, and I had gotten some really great names in 2 episodes ago. I kind of, because we only do these once a week, I do record these a little bit ahead of them being released, and so it is like a 1 or 2 episode delay. But then I think we're going to end up turning this into the Magma Terminal, and then I had received a ton of really cool like geology names that we are definitely going to be utilizing for a lot of these areas. And then I'd also received that suggestion to turn that into a nature reserve, and I think it's just such a cool idea. because then we could do a huge sky bridge up here with like some cable, little cable cars and everything. And I think it's really cool. But I think that's good. Let me know what you guys think. I hope that this maybe helps you out in your cities or coming up with new ideas or something. I think that having these two roundabouts with the avenues is a really cool look. But let me know. And thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you on the next episode.